to let people out there in cyberspace land know that juggalos aren't fucking stupid. So, on this installment of video uploaded to Bruce Rule Design, from the think tank Ideas, imagining designs encompassing all solutions, this wicked clown, nasty green ninja master nobody important, is going to drop some science on your dome, breaking it down how the universe was created. How do I know this shit? Well, that's for me to know and for you to fucking figure out. But what I am going to show you is how energy became particles, became hydrogen, became helium, all in the very instance of the Big Bang, of the creation of our existence. You gotta use your imagination. Now, there was a brilliant scientist a long ass time ago who taught us how to use our starship of imagination. So mine is called Quiet Musings. Welcome aboard, Quiet Musings. Yeah, she looks like a little trash heap, but I got a lot of shit going on in here. Anyway, we're going to take Quiet Musings and we're going to go way the fuck back when there was no time. Time doesn't exist. Not one little bit of it. And at that point, way back when, everything in existence was reduced back down to its basic state of energy. You know, energy, electron particle. Okay? So this is what everything was reduced down to. And it filled up a space that was really small. Now, a lot of people speculate about how big it is. So I'm going to give it a measurement of 1 nanometer. Okay, so we're talking about a particle that's 1 nanometer in size. Now this is the entirety of our whole universe. All the galaxies, all the stars, all the dust, all the black holes, everything. All condensed down into this one little sphere. Now at this point, we're going to call phase -1 creation point, CP. Phase -1 creation point. Now at this point, there's one last little bit of energy still coming in. This last little bit of energy particles is all the last energy collapsing down in the great condensing, or the great collapse, pulse point, what the fuck ever physicists want to use. The point is, this is the last little bit of matter, the last little bit of energy, just before it comes down and touches the rest of the mass to form the whole of energy. Which brings us to the next phase, which we're going to call, let's see, I'll go this way. The next phase we'll call phase 0 creation point. At phase 0 creation point, the entirety of existence is in this particle that we're saying is 1 nanometer across. This is the seed of the universe, the beginning point of everything. And at this point, we don't know how long it lasts, because time does not exist. So it could last for an eternity, or it could be as soon as the particles touch. And phase 0 only lasts for a brief, tiniest of an instant. We move on to phase 1. At phase 1 of creation point, something really interesting happens. This is where the energy as an electron is turned into a proton. And this is how. Phase 1 is the reverse of phase -1, the exact opposite. And this point of phase 1 happens the instant the first particle of electron loses contact with the mass. Not in distance, but loses contact. Actual physical contact with the mass. Now, this is moving outward 3 directions simultaneously. The laws of physics and zero gravity dictate that an equal amount of force has to go this way into the mass that's left behind. So at this point, the entirety of the weight of existence is pushed down upon the single mass point, which compresses all the way down to the very center of the core. And in here, a really interesting thing occurs that we mentioned earlier. This really interesting thing I like to call CQ fusion. CQ fusion, or creation quantum fusion, creates the first piece, well, the second piece of the construct of a particle, of an element. And in CQ fusion, 2 of these are forced to occupy the same space and the same time. And it becomes a positively charged energy particle, also known as a proton. And this happens because in CQ fusion, the energy of the fusion of these 2 particles cannot be released out like in typical fusion reactions, because they are the energy that is typically released out in fusion reactions. So instead, that energy is transferred into motion, and the 2 particles begin to oscillate around one another, trying to achieve equilibrium. And these 2 counterbalanced motions of the 2 of them spinning at high velocity causes the particle to rotate in a sphere. And this then becomes what we know as the proton. So in CQ fusion is proton creation. Now, the next phase in this process, to come back up to the top, is phase 2, creation point. Now, we haven't even gotten to the Big Bang yet. It hasn't blown up yet. This is all the stuff that happens, just teeny tiny, minuscule, creating time moments before the Big Bang. So at phase 2 creation point, the shock wave and the rest of the nucleus of the seed is starting to unravel. And in this soup, we have electrons and we have protons. And the next interesting thing happens as the pressures decompress in the start of the explosion. We have what I like to call P fusion, or particle fusion. In particle fusion, the proton and the electron are fused together. Because the two of them like each other. They're attracted. The charges are attracted. They bring themselves together automatically as the like charges are brought together to cancel each other out. And under this immense decompression pressure, they're forced to occupy the same space at the same time, which causes the particle to cancel itself out and have a neutral charge. And this is the creation of neutrons. Phase 1 fuses two electrodes to create the proton. Phase 2 fuses a proton and electron to create the neutron. Now we come to phase 3, the initial Big Bang. At this point, the seed is unraveling and it's generating enough force that the outer layers are starting to accelerate and to be blown away from the mass and the gravitational pull at the speed of light. And at the start of the Big Bang, we have what I call H fusion. In the hyperfusion reaction, a neutron is brought together in close proximity with a proton that is balancing itself out with an electron. They're orbiting one another. And this nice stable relationship, you know, they like their charge. And in the hyperfusion reaction, the proton and the neutron are bonded together in like hypernuclear tidal hooks. And the electron wanders around the whole construct. And what we have here is the first elementary particle on the periodic table of elements, a hydrogen atom. One proton, one neutron, one electron. Big Bang happens at phase 4. It's no longer creation point. This is Big Bang. The explosion has gone out, the universe is white hot all at the same time, all at once, everywhere. In this is nuclear fusion. Like what happens in stars. But this nuclear fusion is the first nuclear fusion, and the only thing that it fused were hydrogen atoms. And they fused together two hydrogen atoms, turned them into a stable helium atom. And these two elementary particles became the base elements of the rest of existence. They condensed and became the great fusion reactors that stars are, and the stars combined them into many, many different forms and turn them into all the other different elements. The other thing that happens through these phases is the particles gain weight. For example, when the two electrons, which really don't have any weight or mass whatsoever, are fused together into the proton, they become squared, multiplied by the centrifugal mass. The electron weight becomes squared, and then it's multiplied by the centrifugal mass of the velocity at which it's spinning in itself. This mass is where the energy that's normally blown out in the energy exchange of fusion reaction, when the energy exchange is turned in on itself, it becomes this mass. The same thing happens at P fusion to create the neutron, and then the elementary particles combined create the atomic weight of 1. atomic weight of 2. Combine these two particles, you get the atomic weight of 3, so on and so on. So there you go, all you people out there in cyberspace out land. The beginning of the universe, particle physics, from a wicked clown, ghetto-ass, broke motherfucker sitting on a couch, high as fuck, with a whiteboard and a black ink marker. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are colliding particles together, looking for God in the collided particles, trying to figure this shit out. There it is, right there, figured out for you. And anybody want to dispute this? Go right ahead. That's what I believe. Peace, victory, whoop whoop.